Trinity.
Hey.
I'll let you go last. I'll go first. Marion's going to go in the middle because she's going to have to lead the call right at 9. And then you
Okay.
can go, and then I'll close this out with, I've got something to close this out with, okay?
Perfect.
Very good. Okay, guys. So I didn't know if we would have a lot of turnout with the topic, but I feel like mommy guilt, any kind of guilt, and any type of emotion is something that we all deal with in sales. And that's with no matter what you're selling, okay? That's why there's so many books out there, because everybody deals with it. Hang on just a second. We've got some feedback. Just a second. And, okay. Okay, we're good. We're good to go now. Sorry about that. So I'm going to start off by talking about how I think I haven't had mommy guilt. And so when we started hearing about this, we heard about it a lot at our January Jumpstart. In fact, Mike Strong said that when he was his job was to take director calls, when he was in that department, he took over 10,000, and he listed the top 3 calls that always came in of what directors dealt with. And the number one was mommy guilt. And so I was thinking, mommy guilt, we have the perfect job. Why is there mommy guilt? And so I listed some things that I felt like that I did that might have helped me not have that mommy guilt. I don't know why more people working in corporate America do not have this, but I think it's all a time management thing. It's where you're putting your time, honestly. Quality time was probably the most important thing. And one thing that I always did with my kids, we had, when I had quality time with them, we did family projects. Like every summer, when Andy leaves to go hiking, I usually take 3 or 4 days off. So, where they're not home by themselves. And we have a family project. And the family projects tend to get bigger and bigger as they get older. Like, you guys know this last summer, as soon as literally Andy was driving out the driveway, the girls were watching out the window and they're like, he's gone. And we were all getting in the car and driving to Home Depot because we were going to surprise them with painting the garage. And then we were going to have our mudroom installed. And if you knew how dirty our garage was, and then Riley has set our garage on fire a couple of years ago, it was a hot mess. And so this was a big job. But then all of a sudden, we're all loading up, and then all of a sudden the dog barks. We're like, he's back! He forgot something. So we all sat back on the sofa. And so this was just our family thing. And we had ladders, we had gloves, and it was what we did. And it was quality time, but we were working, we were getting things done. It wasn't me going out there, doing the work by myself and making them stay inside or not spending time with them. Because that happens. I could have done that, and I could have got it done faster. There may not be as much paint on the concrete floor, but it was something that we all did together. We literally went through a whole box of rubber gloves. Could I have saved money and not? Absolutely. But it was fun. It was fun. It was hard work. We've already got our next summer project to do in June. As soon as Andy leaves to go on his hiking trip, don't tell him, we are making a cobblestone walkway from the driveway all the way around to the basement, which is going to be our new studio. And so they are all excited about the new cobblestone, and we're going to do the concrete and everything. They're going to put their hands. It's quality time. It's quality time, and it gets messed up. It gets messed up. Okay. I don't sweat the small stuff. We always kind of had open concept. They were never they didn't do too much playing alone in their rooms. I know that some kids like to be by themselves. Mary Beth is someone that likes to go in her room and play with her dolls sometimes by herself. But for the most part, she's got a little Lego table that's in the dining room, and her Barbie house is in the dining room. It's not in the bedroom. And it's like, it looks like Toys R Us threw up in my house but I see her playing. I see Kyle over here playing. It's open concept, okay? There will be a time in the seasons of my life where my house will be clean. and I will be sad because it will be clean and quiet. That will mean that my kids are grown. And so I do not try to have a model home. Okay. It's not staged. It's lived in. And my kids, if you can hear right now, they're all upstairs playing around a basketball with the Nerf hoop that goes from one end of my living room to the other, because we have high ceilings and it's literally in my living room. Okay. I'm going to video this one day, but they've been doing this since they were able to shoot a hoop, like 3 years old. This is what we do. This is why my kids are so good at basketball. They've been playing in the living room their entire life. So the open concept of our home is how we've lived, and it works. My children do not have televisions in their bedroom. They do not have electronics in their bedroom. Now, my older boys, when they turn 16, we allow them to get those in their bedrooms. But until that point, they will not have that. So we have a lot of family time. So we also do we have a TV age-appropriate show for each child. We have the middles, the bigs, the middle, and the littles, okay? And so with Ryan and Riley, we used to watch an episode of Lost on the nights that I was home. And so the little ones would go to bed, and Ryan and Riley would come upstairs, and we would watch Lost. So we watched it from the very first episode to the end. But before, that, we would watch a show with Hudson. The little one, the babies would go to bed. And then we had a show with Hudson that we watched with him that was age appropriate. And then before the girls would go to bed, they have their own little show. I'll tell you right now, the girls like Deal or No Deal. They like that game show. They like America's Funniest Videos, those kind of little shows. Hudson, he likes Last Man Standing, and he likes Flash, and that's our show with him. We spend a lot of quality time with our children, okay, individually, together, family together. That's how it works. Is it every night? No, because I work and we have basketball, but that's our shows, and we watch them from start to finish. Andy will not watch a show out of sync. It drives us nuts. So it's family. That's what we do. If he's out of town, we don't get to watch it, and he warns us, do not watch Last Man Standing. And so we have to wait for him to come back. That's just, we've had a lot of family time, and we enjoy each other. When I'm at their events, okay, I am at their events. I try not to get on my phone unless it's the end of the month, and I'll tell my kids, hey guys, it's the end of the month, okay? And they'll say, okay, or I'll say, it's the end of the year, okay? Like the end of the seminar year. And if I'm at tennis, they know that it's my sale day. Those are reasons that I would have my clipboard, my notebook, and my phone. I will tell you, I never knew how important this was until at tennis about 2 months ago. Hudson started playing tennis with the girls, and so the girls would play tennis, and Hudson would he would get his lessons. And we get in the car, and Hudson said to the girls, he goes, girls, you should be very thankful that we have a mommy. I'm going to start crying. That we have a mommy that watches us do all that we do. He said, did you see that other mommy doing her paperwork and not watching her little girl? Oh, and I thought, you never know when you're doing something right. I actually like watching them. But he's right. There's so many mommies that are just they're not plugged in. They are just, there's a word, but I can't. They're just, I can't even think of the word, but you know what I'm saying. And so I am plugged in. I'm taking pictures. I'm saying, good shot, good shot. They've even gotten on to me. They're like, Mom, you can't do this in tennis like you do in basketball, because they can hear me yelling in basketball. And so I've learned to be quiet in tennis. But that's important to them, that you are present to the moment with them. And that was my next thing, present to the moment. You guys know I've always said that. My beach house is going to be called Present to the Moment. Because when you are with them, you be with them. But when you're working your business, you work your business, okay? No social media. There's nothing wrong with social media if you do it the right way. I don't do it because I don't have any more time. I knew to build this business without it, and I did fine. I didn't see a need for it. I don't have time to keep up with other people. My children and my job, raising my children, is more important than knowing what Martha is doing next door, if she's folding her clothes or whatever. I don't have time for that. And so no social media. If what my motto has always been, if it's not getting me closer to God, closer to my family, or closer to my goal, I don't do it. Husbands, this is something that my husband, I'll tell you that he does, okay, to be a good dad. Andy doesn't waste time on frivolous weekend projects. I know that there are a lot of husbands that tinker in the garage, they build stuff, but y'all, when your kids are little, it's daddy time. There's such a window, and you have to be present to the moment in that window, in that season. He's out riding bikes. He's playing ball with them. You guys, if you ever ride by my house, whatever season it is, that's what's in the front yard. It's a soccer goal. It's a football goal. It's baseball. It's a bucket with the wiffle balls. I mean, it looks like a rec in my front yard. And the only thing, does Andy do work? Absolutely. He cuts grass, he weed eats, he gets his work done, and the kids know when Daddy's finished cutting grass, we're going to get to go ride our bikes. I mean, he is a great dad, and he loves it. I'm going to say this again, I know, but the days are long, but the years are short. Okay. And so yes, we need a new deck, but we'll just hire somebody to do it. He is with the kids. When we start back meeting in a few months in my basement, my local consultants will see how much time Andy spends during the summer out in the front yard with the kids. And I'm out there too on the nights that I don't work. But he doesn't create unnecessary busy work to get away from the kids. I know some men need that because they have stressful jobs, but my husband has a stressful job too. And being with the kids, riding bikes and doing all those things, that's joy. That's his job. That's your job. He is plugged into them. Women, moms, don't deny your husband a chance to be a great dad. I know that part of the problem of the men coming unplugged and having busy time is that the moms, when the kids were little, wanted to do everything. But you've got to release that and let him change the diapers. Let him feed the baby. Let him develop that bond. When I go to seminar, you guys have heard me say, Andy is popping a tent. If it's too hot in July to camp out outside, they've got a tent in my living room. I come home and there's a tent in my living room. They've been camping out in my living room. That's just fun stuff. I mean, he creates fun things for them to do that makes these times special. Okay. Like I said, my house is not spotless. I believe that has made me a better mom because I don't get, uptight if oh my God, you spilled something on the carpet. Okay. Yes, you did. It's a spot. We're going to have to get new carpet eventually. I just do the best I can. I put towels over our dining room when they're eating in there, or spaghetti. It's what it is. It's just, don't sweat the small stuff. Our job is to raise men and women. You're not raising little boys and little girls. Okay. This is probably could have gone on the how to work from home, but I don't help my children with homework. When they start having homework, I sit them down and I say, look, this is your grade. You have to earn this grade. I need to know what you know. And so if you don't come home and do what you're supposed to do and you go take that test, I need to know what you didn't learn in class, and that's your responsibility. If I come home and did your homework for you, that's my grade. And then I won't know what you know, and I can't help you move forward. And so I don't help them. When they're second grade, I help them with a little bit of their project. Mary Beth had a family tree project. She did it herself. I printed out the picture. She pasted it. She drew her family tree. She was so proud of that. Give them independence. Okay, give them independence. Quality time again. My kids knew when and why I was working. Like I said, I explained it. Like if I had to, like at basketball practice, or I don't usually go. With Hudson, I don't go to his basketball practice. He's too big now, but I go to the girls' basketball practice, and I'm always there for tennis. But they always know why I'm working. Okay. So when I'm working more, like in June, it's the end of the year. They know it's the end of the year, and it balances out. They know if I'm working more in June because we've got some fun things to do in July. Balance didn't always mean equal. My kids know after what day, or they know like in December what day we can make cookies. All right. They know I'm going to work up to a certain point, and then we're going to take Christmas break. And that's when we get to make all the cookies. That's when we get to do all the fun stuff, like, making some crystal ornaments and things like that. They know what first things first is. It's not that they're not first. It's things have to be done before we can play. You play hard, you work hard, you play hard. They knew I was working. When they knew if I work hard, they get to play hard. And they know in June when I work really hard, it's because July they have 3 vacations planned. They know that there's 3 vacations planned every July. They also know during the summer when they're home, because they know when I'm at school, when they're at school, I'm doing all these little things, but when they're home in the summer, that doesn't stop. Okay. I don't stop working in the summer. So I get up earlier in July, and I'll run out, make a few deliveries. I'll run home by the time they get up. I'll have donuts for them. And then if I run back out to do a facial, I'll come back home and I'll bring them lunch. They know that I'm working, but then they know that I'm always done by 1:00. So we can play outside or go swimming if I'm not working that night. If I'm working that night, they know they don't get to go swimming because mommy has to have energy. See, it's the balance. I talked about that. It's a scheduled thing. We schedule everything. They know that thinking about your business. So here's the thing. Some people are like, oh, I do Mary Kay all the time and I'm never with my kids. No, you got to look at your social media activity. What do you watch? Are you watching TV? Are you cleaning house too much? You've got to have that balance. You've got to schedule everything. But thinking about Mary Kay 24/7 is not doing Mary Kay 24/7. There's a difference between action and intent. And you have to know, are you just doing a lot of intent thinking, or are you applying the action? I don't know anybody working Mary Kay 24/7. Let's be real. So you've got to know that difference. Show them the benefits of your sacrifice and be realistic what you can do during the seasons of your life. I'm going to say that again. Be realistic with what you can do with the seasons of your life. I'm going to tell you that in 2008, when I started talking to Andy about adoption, I asked him to pray about it. He was praying, and it took him a whole year to come on board. And so it was the beginning of 2009, and then it took a lot. God had to work on me for the last part of 2008. So in end of 2008, I started asking Andy to pray about adoption. So it took him a year. And so when he finally said yes, he had one question for me. I'm going to try to say this without tearing up, but he called me from work one day. He said, I've been thinking about adoption, and I need to ask you. He said, are you willing? He said, if we adopt, there's a good chance that you'll never be a national. Because he knew the timeline. We didn't know how young the baby would be, and how, I'm already this old. And he knew I might miss my window. And he said, are you willing to give up your chance and your window to be a national sales director? And without even hesitating, I said, you know what? I feel strongly about both of those things. But at this moment, I know that God has called me to adopt this baby from China. And I know that God gave me a vision to be a national. If this is not my season to be a national and I'm supposed to adopt, then that's what I'm supposed to do. But I've been called to do both of those things. But if it means giving up being a national, then I have to trust God, because I know this is where I'm supposed to be right now. And so, of course, we got pregnant with Mary Beth too. But you have to know these feelings that are so strong, and you have to trust God. Knowing your limits will relieve you of guilt, okay? But giving your best every day will also relieve you of your guilt. Each night you go to bed and you pray to God that you have given your very best as a mom, as a businesswoman, as a Christian. And for that previous day, and you'll be able to sleep a lot better. And then you just give it to God and let God do the rest. But you, as a mom, as a businesswoman, and as a Christian, you get up every day and you give your very best. I promise you, your guilt will go away. All right, Marianne, you're next. Oh, sorry.
Awesome. Never apologize for being amazing. All right. For me, Michelle, had you touched on yet of overcoming fear?
No, I just did guilt.
Okay. So we also, when we talked about overcoming fear, one thing that helped me to, whenever I felt stuck in, mostly it's all thinking, you're thinking too much, and I just needed to get myself into action. And sometimes, even though I knew I needed to get into action, but I wasn't doing it, basically I was looking at this big goal and this big picture, and it was too much for me, and that worry and stress had me frozen. And so basically, I'm trying to worry about something that's not in my control. So I broke it down into little teeny tiny, like a low stakes game. I kind of like made it not important. And so that way at the moment, my brain could handle it. So like just giving myself small wins, challenging myself. I said, you know what? I'm just going to make 5 contacts today, like something small for me, or for some people it might be like 1. I'm going to contact 1 person today. You just have to start small. You've got to start. You've got to get yourself in action. So it's like, okay, after I make 5 contacts, I'm going to drink warm up my coffee and drink my coffee, or you get this piece of candy, and I would reward myself. And what I found every single time, once I got into action, once I made that first goal, that first win, I was excited and I wasn't scared anymore. And I would just keep going. So I would bring the goal down and focus it onto activity, small wins, actions, okay? And just make it a competition with myself, like forgetting the big goal, the free car or whatever, the big trip, and just, okay, you're going to fill out the bubble sheet for like context. I'm going to fill out this line today. I'm going to color in all 10 bubbles today. That's my goal. That's not hard. And it's not scary either. One thing that I heard recently, and it was reminded, it's from how successful people think that what's in the physical is just a printout of what's mental and emotional. And so what you're living right now is a product of the way you think and the way you feel. And so if you don't like it, you got to change here first, what you think and how you feel. So from Joyce Meyer's Battlefield of the Mind, you cannot have a positive life with a negative mind. And so you have to decide what areas of your life you want to change, and you have to target what's not working in the mind and fix that. I will add one thing on the mom guilt that I got from National Sales Director Cindy Gress in our director class up here in Ohio. And she has one son who I think he's on the autism spectrum, and he was diagnosed in the 3rd grade. And at the time, I think she had just become a national. And when they were talking to her, they said he's going to need someone to teach him how to set goals, how to have small wins, how to be confident, and just like basically listed everything that we do in American business. And of course, she was like so grateful because what she'd built herself and what she'd grown was perfect for what her son needed. And so one thing she said in that class, because we had that discussion about mom guilt and about the work that we do and all that kind of stuff, she said that, if your heart is to be a director or a national sales director, then God knew that your kids would need a sales director mom, or your kids would need a national sales director mom, or else he would not have given them to you. And so just to be able to embrace that vision that God's put on your heart, and that your kids are not suffering because of that. They need you to do that because of the purpose that he has for them. They're going to get it from you and the business that you run. So that was very empowering in that. And then just to have a respect for yourself and your business, just like you would for someone else. Work for yourself better than you would for someone else, because you deserve it. And to think that you don't deserve the same work ethic that you would give to other people is to say you're not worthy. And, that's basically telling God that what he did was not good enough. And so sometimes it's just a shift of, you are worth the time and the investment in your business, the same work ethic that you would give to somebody else. It's you need to give that same action to yourself. So that's me.
Oh, very good. All right, Trinity.
Guys. So I have a lot on fear, if we want to extend this maybe to next week as well. So I'm going to pull a couple of tidbits from it, because Michelle, I think you have some to close up, right?
Yeah, just a few little quotes.
Okay, perfect. So I kind of did a little bit of research on fear, because fear has been a really big struggle in my business, because I've not always been the most confident person. This business has completely changed that for me. But when I started, I knew nothing about makeup, knew nothing about skincare. And so the fear of working with women who did know kind of really consumed me. And so I looked up what fear is. The definition of fear is an unpleasant emotion caused by the belief that someone or something is dangerous, likely to cause pain or threat. And so getting through fear, it really is a skill that you have to develop. Overcoming the fear, it's a skill, because in order to overcome it, you have to accept the fact that it's there, first of all, and a lot of people cling to their fears because it's who they are. So I had always been the type of person who really wasn't into makeup or skincare. And so that's just who I was. And so I clung, I don't know what that word is. I attached myself to that fear because that's who I was. And I was scared of letting that go, because that's all I ever knew. That's the only person I ever knew of myself. And so a lot of times we're afraid, like if you're really shy and you don't like to talk a lot in front of people, that's who you are. And so sometimes it's easy to hold on to that fear, because you're like, that's me, that's who I am. But is there a better version of yourself that's out there if you let go of that fear? And that's what I had to ask myself. And so that's really cool way to look at it, if you're willing to look at it in that way. But if you're not ready to face that fear, that's okay. That's something that you can work on, and that's something that you can develop. But it was something that it took me quite a while, probably about 6 to 8 months, I would say, in order to feel comfortable with letting go of that fear, as weird as that sounds. And so that fear is something you have to be willing to let go of and not let it be a part of you anymore. So you have to make that conscious decision, which it can be hard to do, and it's a daily struggle. It's a daily challenge. But if you don't let go of it and you don't make that conscious decision, then nothing's going to change. So the first step is awareness, right? You have to admit that you have a problem in every situation that you need to improve. And so the fear is the same way. You have to have the awareness of the fear, know it's there, and know what you're afraid of. Are you afraid of heights? Are you afraid of spiders? Are you afraid of public speaking? And so my fear at the beginning of this not only had to do with, the skincare and the cosmetics aspect, but when I became a director, I was really afraid of talking to people about money. And Michelle knows this about me. I've always been, my family, we didn't grow up wealthy, but we struggled paycheck to paycheck. We lived. And so I'd always worked very hard for my money, and I had always had a job, but we were never wealthy, if that makes sense. And so I hated to talk to people about money whenever we were having inventory talks. And so as a director, that's something you do. You talk to people about how they can make the most money and how they can build their inventory. I had inventory. I just didn't like to talk to people about how they could build their inventory. And so it wasn't until I understood that I had that fear, because I didn't know what was going on, that that I was able to walk people through it. I had a consultant, her name is Nikki, and she told me after she had placed her first order, she said, I didn't realize that I had the opportunity to get all those bonuses because you didn't tell me. And that was my job to tell her. Yeah. And so she said, I'd ordered $225, but I really wish that I had placed an inventory order to get those free products. And I was like, all right, well, I guess I need to accept the fact that I have this fear of talking to people about money. And so it really was cool to see that fear kind of, it was a challenge, but every time I took a step and I learned how to overcome that fear, it really bettered me as a person, and that's when we earned my first free car. And so that just kind of goes to show you that there really is a reward when you let go of that fear and you move forward. So you have to identify it, you have to have awareness of it, and you have to really, in order to overcome it, the biggest thing that I did was educate myself on it, educate myself on all the different reasons of why inventory is really important, educate myself on skincare, educate myself on cosmetics, and that gave me the confidence that I needed. It's just like I'm kind of a certified surgeon because I love Grey's Anatomy, and so I've decided that I'm qualified to go and do surgery on people because I watch it, and so literally that's my guilty pleasure. And Grey's Anatomy, if you think about it, the surgeons don't just go into a surgery and they don't just show up and say, okay, well, it's day one, let me go cut somebody open. They have to study, they have to train, they have to take all the tests, and then they go in and they observe, right? And then they go and they actually get to have the experience of doing it themselves. But the confidence doesn't really come until they've done all those different steps and really talked themselves through it. And then they're able to go and perform a surgery and remove people's organs. So that's a really cool thing to think about yourself as a surgeon, overcoming that fear. And the biggest thing that you can do is to take action, whether it's to train yourself, whether it's to get out there and do it. If you're afraid of public speaking, just every day overcome your fear a little bit more. Going live on Facebook. If you're afraid of going live on Facebook, I love it now. I used to hate it. I was terrified because you can't edit it. It's all just going to happen like it happens. But people love that, and it makes you real. And so, but you have to take a little step at a time. So maybe go live for 5 seconds and say, hey guys, hope you're having a great day. I'm wearing this lipstick. Okay, bye. And then just, you know what I mean? But every day take that one little step, and then you'll get to where you're doing live videos for an hour, a year later, which is really fun. So take action. And so just know that your fears can be overcome. It is a skill to overcome a fear, which can be learned and can be taught. And so that's a really cool thing. So just know that fears are fears. They're created by your imagination to make reality seem scarier than it really is. When you take action and face your fears, they become weaker because you realize that reality isn't nearly as bad as your imagination. Bam. Okay, Michelle, to you.
Awesome. Y'all are so awesome. You're so cute. All right. So here's just a few quotes. Great conflict cultivates great character. If you want to live an epic life, you have to overcome some epic challenges. All right. You have to take some epic risks, make some epic sacrifices. For King David, it was picking a fight with Goliath. In every story, there are defining moments, a turning point, a point of no return. So what you've got to do is get to that point, and then you're ready. And that's facing your fears, overcoming all these emotions. One thing I wrote down listening to Marianne at Trinity talk, and Marianne may have said this, but Trinity reminded me of it. Confidence comes in the doing. Fear comes in the thinking. Confidence comes in the doing. Fear comes in the thinking. Guys, it's personal growth. God is not inside your comfort zone, so you need to get out and go find him. All right. Sorry, we're about 4 minutes late. This is recorded, and I will get it posted tomorrow. All right. Good night, everybody. Thank y'all. Good night.